Welcome to Automation Hunter, the podcast for entrepreneurs and businesses ready to scale smarter. In this series, Apps, Hacks, and Bounties, your host, Will Christensen, dives into game-changing tools and strategies alongside special guests, sharing insights to boost productivity and solve real business challenges. Ready to innovate? Let's dive in.
All right. Welcome, everybody, to this episode of Automation Hunter. I'm your host, Will Christensen. This is Apps, Hacks, and Bounties. You know what we're about. Max, thank you so much for joining us. Max is from Ecomtent.ai. Is that correct? Did I totally botch?
That's correct. It's a pleasure to be back with
Ecomtent.ai.
you.
I nailed the
podcast.
Yes. Hey, thank you so much for joining us.
Of course.
All right. So, Max, we're going to dive right in. Tell me about an app that you've used in the last year that you've come across and been like, wow, this has really upped my game.
So my app that is my absolute favorite and I use daily is Perplexity. And one of the reasons as an entrepreneur, I mean, there's many reasons I love Perplexity, but one of the reasons I love Perplexity is it just flew in the face of all of the venture capitalist view of like what makes a good business. So the biggest question I get when talking to investors is, oh, what happens if Amazon just do this, right? And obviously Perplexity is doing something that literally Google is doing. So it's kind of like right on the point of like, what happens if Google just do this? And yet they've still proven themselves. And B, when all of these kind of foundation, when like this Gen AI hype started in 2022, the kind of common view from the investor standpoint, and I got this a lot as I was going to raise money, was, oh, this is just a wrapper on top of the base models. The base models are going to accrue all the value. The wrappers are just interchangeable. And fast forward 3 years, and actually the reverse is true. The base models are interchangeable, and the wrappers, which, the brand name of Perplexity and their, 100 million queries a week and everything like that, that accrues the value. So as an entrepreneur, I just love the braveness that they did and how they've just proved doubters wrong. And as a tool, as you know, it's just incredibly useful just to discover answers and do complex analysis on different aspects of the business, like complex math or complex market sizing. And it does it instantaneously, in a few seconds, to high quality.
I think the thing that I love about it is if you think about the most common task we do in business, it's probably Google searching, right? Like let's be honest. And this is not even a task in business, like a task in life, right? You think about like, how often was I going to Google and saying, find me a recipe for X, Y, or Z, or how do I solve this problem? I can still remember the day that I walked into my boss's office when I was like low man on the totem pole at an agency. And I asked him a question. He said, come here real quick. And I walked around his desk and he opened up Google and he typed in verbatim the words that I said to him. And the top result in Google was the answer. And I about faced out of his office and went back to my desk. And I never did that again because it was like, seriously, Will, like you could have just Googled that. There's actually a total website called Let Me Google That For You, where you can type in a query. And then when someone asks you a question, you send it to them and it does the same thing. It brings up a GIF that like shows you typing in that query and then like gives them the answer. Somebody should be that, like, should let me Perplexity that for you. I just love that they took this task of researching, because my wife told me, I don't know what it is about you and Google, but you two have a better relationship than me. When I Google crap, I can't find anything. When you go, you just seem to know where to go at it. I love that they took Google Judo Mastery and gave it to the commoner, right? Like they democratized search in a way that I haven't seen done anywhere else.
Yeah, 100%. And the adding in the reasoning models like O3 and R1. I'm not a huge fan of R1 DeepSeek, but with O3 at least, like you can do very complex tasks. So, for example, I was trying to calculate, what my MRR growth needed to be to hit the goal I wanted to hit. And it's a complex thing, and you can kind of talk to it and it will do like math for you and like break it down and give you an answer in an incredible way. So not only do you subscribe to Perplexity, you get better answers in Google, but also you kind of save on having to have Claude or all the other AI models because they just have it all in there for $20 a month.
I love Perplexity. What's been the most surprising thing of Perplexity as you've looked at it? What's been the most surprising thing that's popped out for you?
I think the most surprising thing for me, so Perplexity, 50% of Perplexity's answers get a follow-up question. And what is the most surprising thing for me is not Perplexity itself, but the fact that Google hasn't said, people getting so much value out of this tool. It's got 100 million queries. It's like the fastest growing search engine. It's a real threat to our business. And they haven't just adopted, like Zuck
The
would do
follow-up
with Meta,
question.
just kind of copy it. Like anything happens in the social media world, and Zuck will either buy it or he'll copy it like stories, and it'll be there in a week. And I just don't understand why Google has been so slow moving to adopt the follow-up questions or adopt the kind of Perplexity UI. And they've given a lot of space for Perplexity to grow, and it's a far superior search tool in my mind. I mean, Google's great innovation was the PageRank algorithm, which was a very cool algorithm and great for 2000 to 2020. But now we're in a new world of Gen AI, and Perplexity is using way better AI algorithms at in a better user experience as well.
I think they are well poised to be one of the most interesting exits. It'll be curious to see whether or not they decide to just ride it and stay where they're at. But like, if I were a Google, or even one of, like, if I was Bing, if I was Microsoft, I might be looking at Perplexity and being like, maybe we should just pick that up. And the valuation would be off the charts, right? Because the growth curve they've got's amazing. I could not agree more with you. I think that they've done some pretty amazing things in terms of, like, I've used ChatGPT's search stuff. I've used some of the other pieces, and they're just not as good. And so it what actually surprises me is, like, the people who made OpenAI, like OpenAI, the leader, they can't do this as well as Perplexity has. And I think it's all about that, who got in first to the use case for what was there, so that they could learn how to manipulate AI to give you the best results.
And it's the focus, right? Like, OpenAI's mission is stated as building AGI. So they don't, like, their best people not motivated to build a search engine. Is in many ways a smaller mission, right, than like artificial general intelligence, which is just like a crazy mission. At least when they started it. So I think Perplexity is an amazing team, super motivated to that mission. All their best people working on that, and I think that focus as well is why they're the best. And they're scale up, so they move very quickly, and they release a bunch of very cool stuff.
I love it. My favorite, my most surprising thing I've done on Perplexity is I love fixing random crap around the house, or I love chatting with it about products that I want to buy. Like my personal queries. I've been surprised at how good it is at just giving me general information about, like, I'm in charge of streaming at church, so I'm the guy who makes sure that the stream goes. There's a lady in our area who is sick right now and not able to come, and so I stream it to make sure she gets an opportunity to see it.
Very nice of you. Yeah.
Hey, it's a pleasure. It honestly gives me an opportunity to mess around with OBS during church, so it's pretty fun to go in and play around with all the settings and make everything work. But I was like, okay, could I figure out a way to, like, hook this up to the audio system in the church? And so I was going back and forth with it yesterday while I was at church, chatting about, what sort of transformers I would need. And it was teaching me a little bit about the audio signals and how I would make this work. And then I was like, you know what? Fine. Can the DJI mic too? Because I've got these awesome Bluetooth mics that are, they've got their distance and everything. And I love that. Could I make it so that thing just worked a little more seamlessly? And can I make it so that it goes in two outputs at once? And it was like, nope, can't do that. And it found a post from 4 months ago where a guy asked the exact same question that I did. And it even had a little link so I could click on it and see, because it said, no, that's not possible. And I was like, okay, let's see if it's hallucinating, because I have seen Perplexity hallucinate. And I clicked on it, opened it up, and it was like a perfect source for, not possible. So just mind blowing how helpful it's been that way.
Agree. I mean, that is a great use case. I've used it all the time when I'm in HubSpot and trying to do something, and like, you ask a HubSpot AI and it's not as good as Perplexity at telling you how to do stuff, and that's true of basically every tool. So it's just an amazing way to, like, fixing the website and want to do something different on Webflow, it will tell you what to do. So it's just an amazing tool.
Oh, from that standpoint, like the customer service aspect, like, that's actually a totally new product idea for Perplexity right there. Hey, Perplexity, why don't you build a version of yourself? Maybe they have this already and I just haven't looked. Why don't you go build a version of yourself where people could pay you monthly to have it be the internal engine? Because if they would sit on top of my company's wiki, I would trust them way more than I do.
They've got an enterprise version, so I think they've got something to do with this.
Yeah, they need to go. They need to go a little, like, I'm looking for like a mid-tier small business option that would work. Because, like, I run a community of fractionals. Like, would love to have something that did a really good job of looking at I mean, Notebook LM does an okay job. If you fill it full of 500 pages worth of data, it'll do a decent job on your data set. But I would trust Perplexity way more based on what I've seen thus far. All right, Max, tell me about a hack that you've put in place inside your business against hiring, against lead gen. Tell me about something that you've done that's helped you upscale the business.
Sure. I think the simplest hack that I could think of when you asked me the question about half an hour ago was our hack in how we thought about fundraising. And it's a very simple formula that you need to realize when you approach fundraising, which is VCs are only interested in $1 billion companies. They're only interested in, they make 10 bets throughout a year roughly, and one of those bets has to return the fund. And they, it's a risky business investing in early stage companies, and they expect 9 to fail, and one needs to be the hit. Therefore, they make 10 bets, assuming all of them are $1 billion companies. So it's a very simple hack, which is if you are going down that road, you basically need to look at do a back of the napkin calculation. $1 billion company basically means 100 million revenue and a 10x kind of multiple on the revenue. So do you have a clear path to 100 million revenue? You take all the customers, all your target market customers, times by how much you're charging them, and does that take you to 100 million? Because if that math doesn't work out, then you're not going to ever be successful in fundraising from venture capital.
I love that. I mean, they talk about start with the end in mind, right? Like that's really powerful from a standpoint of, like, I have entrepreneurs who come to me all the time, like, oh, you have to work on what you're passionate about. Like, if you're not passionate about it, it's not going anywhere. And I figured out, like, I could become passionate about a lot of things. Once I got into them and understood where money was being made and all of those different pieces. So rather than follow your passion in this situation, you're saying follow the money. And I think there is something to be said of passion.
It's more, no, I agree. It's more, because I get a lot of people who come to me and ask for my advice on fundraising. And the question I ask them is this hack, right? Like, do you even have a venture-backed business? We can go into lots of details about tactics and strategies to raise money and blah, blah, blah. Like, I can talk to you about that all day, right? But
the prerequisite is, do you have a clear pathway to 100 million?
Do you have, exactly. That's the number one question. And you need to be honest with yourself because you're obviously not going to dominate any one market, right? So if you assume that you get 10% market share of whatever your market is,
and then how much can you charge each one of those people?
How much can you charge a customer?
Does that equal 100 million? Great. You've got a venture-backed opportunity.
Correct. And that is, it sounds very simple, but when a lot of the people who, people who ask me for advice and like many of them, when you sit down and do that math, doesn't stack up. And therefore, either they have to say, I'm doing this as a passion, which is fine, and I'm going to build a business which is going to be great for me, but I'm not going to be raising external capital. It's a lifestyle business. Or I need to pivot the idea because I do want to build a venture-backed business, and I want to build something which is going to be, I want to build something of that scale, and I want to take external capital. I want to go down the road.
That's fantastic, Max. And I think you could do the same thing with angel investors, right? If you look at angel investors, like go to Perplexity, say, what is the average angel investor looking to make back? Like, how big are the companies that they're going into, and do the math backwards. It's not 100 million with an angel investor, not every angel investor.
Right. I think angel investors, you have different types of angel investors. So you have those who are, I'm an angel investor. So you have those who actually are passionate about the area you're passionate in. So, we have people who invested in us very early on that were excited about, AI and kind of e-commerce merchandising, and were CMOs of big businesses and like kind of want to, they want to stay close to what's happening in new technologies, and therefore they're investing in businesses. I think there's many reasons angel investors invest, and I think a lot of time they're not doing like cold calculations. Yeah. In my experience, they're more what they want to invest in things exciting. They may be at a new juncture at their career, and they're looking to kind of branch out into different things. And so they might really like you as a person. That's what my two angel investments were into two of my friends, and I thought, I like these guys. I want to kind of have a little piece of the journey and be along with them. So I think with angels, there's many, many reasons. But yeah, for VCs, there's one reason that they're investing is to get $1 billion.
I love it. Okay, Max, final question.
Yeah.
What's the biggest challenge that Ecomtent is facing right now? You considered it as a complex system. You got leads coming in the top of the funnel, then you got leads going down to the middle of the funnel, then you got leads dropping to the bottom of the funnel, and they're closing in the business. And then you've got the other side of fulfillment. if you consider those as separate funnels and they all have different bandwidths and things, which would you say is the bottleneck right now for Ecomtent?
So it's a tough question. I think we get a lot of inbound. I think we do very well on the inbound side. We've never done any ad. And we probably get 2 or 3 customers a week just sign up on the website, which, I mean, it's not extraordinarily good, but it's good because we start at $200 a month.
Yeah.
And we also get probably 10 or so people just reaching out for demos, of which we convert probably 60-70% of them.
Cool,
so I think
cool.
We're good there. I guess maybe I would say expanding the contract value with the customer, because we are always launching. We're always launching new features. We just launched, for example, understanding the Rufus questions on an Amazon product listing. We scrape Amazon, we show the customer at scale all of their Rufus questions, and then in one click they can kind of generate optimized copy, which is not only keyword rich and Cosmo optimized, but answers all the Rufus questions. So this is a pretty cool new feature that we've launched, and actually we're just giving it away at the moment to everyone who's on it's everyone who's on a pro package and above. But I think we're not particularly good, and maybe this is a bandwidth question, but we're not particularly good at helping customers to upgrade to the new features. And maybe this is because we don't do a great job of communicating the tiers. We do have tiers, and certain things are available for certain different tiers. But yeah, we're not. I think the slowest piece is probably making
the current base is growing. It's growing at a steady pace, steady clip. You've got some good inbound that's happening organically and or otherwise. Those engines are running, but it sounds like the user base that's there, they're not taking full advantage of the whole product, probably because they don't know about it. So the bottleneck feels like it might be education, or / inside sales, right? So it's education / inside sales.
I agree, and we don't do any inside sales. We haven't set that up at all. And also, I don't think we do a great job of educating current customers. So I think, I guess those.
I'm going to give you 2 different hacks I've seen work before in this scenario. The first hack is an employee incentive program for the upgrades. And so you just create a blanket system across everybody, and you have to kind of drill this back, sit down with someone on your executive team, and or you've got that one employee who you understand they get it. They're willing to get in and understand a little bit more about the business. They're willing to like brainstorm with you and find out some sort of an incentive program that gets them excited. Like if I upgrade X number of people, I get a guitar, or whatever that currency is for them. And I found that if you create an incentive program that pushes everybody to just keep that top of mind, they're all interacting with customers on a daily basis already. We already have the trust of these individuals on a daily basis already. It's about being top of mind. It's about a system through which you can go. So the first part of it would be, well, Max or somebody on your team needs to go figure out what that upgrade process looks like. Like, how do I just get in and start talking to a customer and upgrade them? Once you start to understand what those questions are that turn into an upgrade, like what are the pain points that we solve on the next tier, and how can I ask questions about them, then build an incentive program and focus it on the leading indicators, not the lag indicators. So the lag indicators is the number of people who upgraded. The leading indicator might be the number of pain point questions asked by a rep, because they can choose whether they ask the question, right? They can't choose whether or not the customer it increases what's there. And that might be the wrong lead indicator. I'm just tossing one out there. But let's say you came up with a series of 50 questions that were all associated with your second tier or above. And of those 50 questions, you just started having people track how many times they were asking one of these 50 questions. And I bet that over time, week over week, if you had those questions asked, because all you got to do is ask the question, and all of a sudden they're like, well, crap, yeah, that's a problem I've got. Did you know that on our next tier up, it does X, Y, or Z, right? And so you're adding value to all your customer conversations. That's the hack I would put in place, is some sort of leading indicator employee benefit program across everybody.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Okay. The second thing that I've thought about there is who, not how. You might be at a point where it's an interesting idea to just bring on another team member to focus on this specifically. Maybe a fractional salesperson, maybe a fractional chief operating officer who can help you figure out how to build systems to put in place to kind of automatically upgrade or automatically educate, because this doesn't actually have to be done by a person, right? You could take different systems or things that you're identifying in the business. You know a lot about these guys' Amazon business, right? So you may actually be able to automatically identify some of the pains that your next tier up gives, and then automatically, shoot them an email campaign and say, hey, looks like you have a whole bunch of Rufus questions that are not answered. Did you know that our next tier up does that?
Yeah.
And you can detect who's got which of those problems. So those would be my two ideas for hacks for ways to solve that. And I'll be curious. We're going to do another episode here in a month or two where we demo day, and I'm going to ask you about. I'll bring up the bounty again, but the question that I will ask you there, and what we'll do most is demo the product. So we're actually going to have you share your screen and walk through the product, and you tell me about all the amazing things that are going on in there.
Excited for it.
All right, Max, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Apps, Hacks, and Bounties with Automation Hunter.
Always a pleasure, Will.